I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
A seismic shift is tearing through the heart of the WNBA, threatening to fracture its very foundation. For years, whispers of injustice have followed the league's brightest star, a growing chorus of disbelief and outrage. But now, those whispers have erupted into a deafening roar, culminating in a development so unprecedented it feels ripped from the pages of a high-stakes legal thriller. A player, pushed to the brink, has reportedly taken aim at the very officials sworn to uphold the game's integrity, initiating legal action against them for what is being called systematic negligence. This isn't just about a foul call or even a single game gone wrong. This is about a complete, catastrophic breakdown of professional integrity that has finally forced someone to draw a line in the sand and declare, with resounding clarity, enough is truly enough. What's at stake is not just the future of one player, but the entire trajectory of women's professional basketball, now caught in a firestorm of controversy and demands for accountability.
So we will take all media questions today, but we're just supposed to read from a script, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. On behalf of my teammates and every member of our union, I want to be very clear that we remain committed to negotiating the next CBA with the league and the teams in good faith and privately. But we do want to set the record straight, not for the headlines, but for the fans who support us and deserve transparency. What's at stake? This is a defining moment in the WNBA. As the league grows, it's time for the CBA that reflects our true value. We are fighting for a fair share of business that we built, because it is a business. We are fighting for anything. We are not fighting for anything that's unreasonable.
All right, enough is enough. At some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected. And that is certainly the case with the way things around Caitlin Clark are officiated. This is a constant problem now. It is something that since the beginning, I've kind of backed off on, because physical play is a part of sports. Going after a superstar and trying to rough them up a little bit to get in their head is a part of sports. But when it crosses the line, the referees need to do their jobs. They need to do their jobs, blow the whistle, and officiate properly. Hand out flagrants, kick people out of games, nip it in the bud.
The epicenter of this storm is, without question, Caitlin Clark. From the moment she stepped onto a WNBA court, she wasn't just a rookie, she was a phenomenon, a once-in-a-generation talent who single-handedly reshaped the league's landscape. Her impact on attendance, viewership, and revenue has been nothing short of revolutionary. Fever games now draw over 15,000 fans, a staggering leap from the 7,000 for non-Fever matchups. Her road games boost attendance by an astonishing 87%, and she alone accounts for a third of the WNBA's total attendance. Games featuring Clark see 105% more fans compared to those without her. When her team visits, they draw 36% more fans than any other team in the league. Yet, despite being the golden goose, the undisputed engine of the WNBA's newfound relevance and prosperity, Clark has been subjected to a relentless, systematic campaign of physical targeting. She's been treated not like the league's most valuable asset, but like a human punching bag, enduring a barrage of flagrant fouls, shoves, and outright assaults that would see any other player ejected. Yet somehow, in a bewildering twist of fate, she's often the one penalized. The breaking point for many, and certainly for one particular teammate, came during that explosive Tuesday night game against the Connecticut Sun. It was a brutal, almost unbelievable spectacle. Clark was poked in the eye, then shoved violently to the ground by multiple players while still reeling from the initial injury. Yet, in an act that defied logic and fairness, the referees somehow managed to assess Clark with a technical foul for what they described as unsportsmanlike conduct. Let that sink in. The victim of multiple assaults, still recoiling, gets penalized, while her attackers walk away with minimal, if any, consequences. Marina Mabrey, one of the primary aggressors, didn't even get thrown out. It was, in the starkest terms, open season on Caitlin Clark, with the phantom special whistle she supposedly receives for being a superstar seemingly blowing flagrantly in the opposite, punishing direction. The absurdity of it all ignited a powder keg of frustration that had been building for years.
Caitlin Clark got destroyed. Her girl Sophie came to her defense, and this was the most beast mode thing that I've seen a woman do in WNBA history. Now watch this, what they did to Caitlin Clark, and then we're going to play the clip of Sophie Cunningham. Roll the clip.
I mean, is that displacement? I think it is. Oh, and Marina Mabry's going to get ejected. If the officials saw that, Marina Mabry is going to get ejected.
Well, they're going to go and look at it. Look at Mabry. She's got a scar on one side, a scratch on one side of her face, a scratch on the other side. It's not from the game today. I asked her about it. She's always in the mix. There's a lot of contact here.
In fact, she gets a technical foul after getting poked in the eye and then shoved to the floor, and Marina Mabry doesn't even get thrown out of the game. It's basically open season on Caitlin Clark, and the special whistle that she supposedly gets goes in the other direction. Flagrantly so. They got to put it to an end. I mean, she's the most valuable player in the league in the most literal sense. And somehow she gets the opposite of superstar treatment. And that's what you saw with the Connecticut Sun and Indiana Fever. The Fever won the game. Of course they won the game. Of course they won the game. They're better.
Y'all ain't really tapped in. Because Sophie Cunningham been crashed out. She been popping it like overly. They been saying she wasn't all her hair. And I knew this. Y'all, I ain't gonna lie. Y'all lucky she wasn't in the game when it happened. Y'all lucky she wasn't in the game because Marina Mabry would have got the pause for real. I ain't gonna lie. The girl, I don't even know the little girl that got in the clinch. I ain't gonna lie, she did her dirty. I was just waiting for the knees. I was waiting for the high knees. Cause they said she was a black belt. I didn't know she was a black belt, but I knew she was a popper. I knew she was with all the smoke. She ain't never ducking no smoke ever.
But this time, the narrative was different. This time, Caitlin Clark had an enforcer, a teammate willing to risk everything to protect her. Enter Sophie Cunningham. Cunningham, a player already known for her fiery demeanor and readiness to crash out, had watched this pattern repeat itself game after game, the escalating abuse of her star teammate going unpunished. With a mere 46 seconds left on the clock in that chaotic Sun game, Cunningham delivered a message that resonated far beyond the confines of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. When the opposition made a steal and headed for what should have been an easy layup, Cunningham stepped in, not with a defensive play, but with an unambiguous act of protection and retaliation. It was a raw, visceral eruption of beast mode, a moment that instantly went viral, capturing the collective exasperation of millions of fans. What happened next was truly unprecedented in WNBA history. Within 24 hours, Sophie Cunningham's social media following exploded, her TikTok followers leaping from under 400,000 to over 1.2 million, and her Instagram by more than 700,000. Fans weren't just supporting her, they were celebrating her, christening her the Enforcer, and buying out her jerseys until they were completely sold out. This wasn't just viral fame, it was a cultural moment, an undeniable signal of how desperate fans were for someone, anyone, to finally stand up for Caitlin Clark.
Are we even surprised about this? Sophie Cunningham's jersey sales just passed Caitlin Clark's after she goes viral overnight for protecting Caitlin Clark in a game where she got fined $400, which Caitlin Clark apparently is paying for. But yeah, we found our new queen at Indiana.
The Fever saw it coming. They went and got Sophie Cunningham, 6-year-old black belt. This is what the Bulls did with Charles Oakley to protect Michael Jordan. Watch the retaliation later by Sophie Cunningham. And again, this is inappropriate, right? No, it's what happens in basketball.
The WNBA refs are the worst. They really are the worst in the WNBA. Some of these women's refs, I don't know if you feel this way, Angel, but they have a long way to go.
It's been like that for a while. I don't know what it is. It's like, if they go to ref school, I don't understand.
They're going to the Phoenix University of ref schools.
They're going to DeVry.
Yeah, bro.
The most shocking development, however, was still to come. Sophie Cunningham, in a move that has sent shockwaves across the entire sporting world, has reportedly taken the unprecedented step of pursuing legal action against WNBA referees for their consistent, systemic failure to protect Caitlin Clark from targeted harassment. This isn't just about a single game or one isolated incident. It's a bold accusation of a pattern of negligence spanning a couple years now. This groundbreaking case could establish a monumental precedent precedent, potentially holding sports officials personally liable for failing to safeguard players from harassment, citing documented systemic targeting. The timing of this legal bombshell could not be more perfect, coming on the heels of the WNBA's own integrity crisis involving widespread referee corruption. The league has already been forced to fire 3 referees following a bribery investigation, a damning admission that officiating problems run far deeper than mere incompetence. When referees are accepting financial incentives to influence game outcomes, it's chillingly clear that the entire system isn't just flawed. It needs to be torn down and rebuilt from the ground up, demanding an unprecedented level of accountability.
Caitlin Clark is a really hard player to officiate, much like Diana Taurasi was throughout the course of her career, for a couple of reasons. Caitlin Clark regularly gets picked up in the full court. She also gets blitzed more over the course of her career than any player in WNBA history or in that period of time. And she also creates some contact herself on the offensive end of the floor. She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA, and all of them said it needs to get better. Specifically, the consistency, not only from one game to the next, but the consistency within a game. One coach told me, we tell our players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes because we know for 38 of them, they're pretty much going to get away with it. So I think
you should have had the second jersey WNBA I bought. I did not know that you were so proficient in holding the back of a girl's head while talking shit to her. She defended Caitlin Clark from that flagrant foul, which they didn't call flagrant for some reason last night. And she had her titled up. And then the rest of the Don Imus crew came up and tried to, separate it and whatever. But let me just tell y'all this. Sophie Cunningham, thank you for defending Caitlin Clark. Somebody in the WNBA has to protect the brand, and it's not going to be the EBT members. So thank you for protecting the greatest female basketball player of all time. I was unfamiliar with your work. I've seen the walk-in videos. I've seen all the other stuff. I didn't know you had hands.
In the face of this escalating crisis, the WNBA's response has been nothing short of disgraceful, if not outright baffling. Instead of addressing the undeniable, systematic targeting of their biggest star, they've chosen a path that can only be described as self-sabotage. They've fined Sophie Cunningham, not just a standard penalty for a flagrant foul, but an additional fine, essentially punishing her for doing the very thing their referees consistently refuse to do: protect Caitlin Clark. This decision screams of a profound disconnect, a willful blindness to the league's own best interests. The league's belated admission that officials lost control of the Connecticut Sun game is far too little, too late. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's rhetoric about upholding the highest standards rings hollow in the face of such glaring inaction, highlighting a stark chasm between the league's words and its detrimental deeds. From a pure business perspective, this approach borders on sheer, inexplicable stupidity. When you possess a player who can single-handedly transform your league's fortunes, attracting unprecedented interest and revenue, you don't allow her to be systematically abused by jealous competitors and incompetent officials. You protect her, you promote her, and you build your entire organization around her success. Anything less is professional malpractice. The evidence of systematic targeting is overwhelming, undeniable, and meticulously documented. Rebecca Lobo, a highly respected analyst who has conducted extensive research watching tape of WNBA rookies for the past 27 seasons, is adamant that Caitlin Clark is being played and defended differently than any other rookie who has ever stepped onto a WNBA court. This isn't conjecture or subjective opinion. It's a documented fact from someone who has studied every rookie class in league history. The pattern is stark and disturbing. Clark has been poked in the eye, shoved to the ground, hip checked, and subjected to flagrant fouls that would result in ejections for any other player. Yet somehow, despite being the victim of these repeated assaults, she's the one who frequently receives technical fouls fouls for simply reacting to the blatant aggression. The most recent incident with JC Sheldon, where Clark gets poked, pushed by multiple players, and then penalized for the audacity to defend herself, perfectly encapsulates this deeply rooted problem. Even WNBA coaches have privately admitted that the officiating needs to get better, specifically citing the desperate need for consistency, not only from one game to the next, but within a single game. One coach chillingly revealed, "We tell our players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes because we know for 38 of them, they're pretty much going to get away with it." This revelation paints a grim picture of a league where physical abuse is not only tolerated, but seemingly encouraged by a lack of enforcement.
This is a message for the WNBA. Do you realize that what you have in Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation talent? She was massively successful in college, and that's transcended into the WNBA, where she's leaps and bounds above pretty much most every player there. You're allowing her to get beaten up on the regular during games, flagrant fouls, people trying to take her eye out. That's happened a couple different times last year and this year. And you're not protecting your asset.
Right. These girls have been grinding to grow the game of basketball in the WNBA. They've been grinding to grow the sport to the world, the viewerships. They've been grinding for all of this. And then you have this girl that comes along from college and is an instant change. She's handed pretty much being the face of the league. There's going to be girls that are offended by that. And there's going to be girls that think she's got to earn it and she doesn't deserve this early. She's handled it great. I think she's performed last year. She's performing again this year. I think she's the rightful face of the NBA.
The groundswell of support for Sophie Cunningham's legal action has ripped open the lid on the deep, simmering frustration among WNBA fans. Petition campaigns demanding referee accountability have gained hundreds of thousands of signatures, a clear signal that fans are no longer willing to accept the status quo. The message is clear: either the WNBA fixes its referee problem, or its fan base will continue to demand more drastic action. What's particularly striking is how fans have so rapidly embraced Cunningham as a hero, while simultaneously losing almost all faith in the league itself. When respected voices across sports media, from Kevin Garnett to Chris Evert, are praising Cunningham's defense of Clark and lamenting the league's abysmal officiating, it's undeniable that the situation has reached an absolute breaking point. The WNBA can no longer dismiss these concerns as mere fan overreaction or media sensationalism. They are facing a full-blown revolution from their own most dedicated supporters, who see their golden goose being strangled, seemingly by the very people who should be protecting her. The pervasive jealousy and outright hate from some elements within the league, stemming from Clark's instant relevance, only compound the sense of injustice, with fans feeling the WNBA is actively complicit in allowing this targeting to continue.
Caitlin Clark is the golden goose. Every game she is dropping golden eggs, and they are trying to strangle the golden goose to death. There's jealousy, there is hate. Everyone in the league seems to hate the fact that Caitlin Clark is making the league relevant. If I were advising Caitlin Clark, I would say start your own pro basketball league for women. I don't know why she benefits from the WNBA at all. She could go out, she is the draw for women's basketball, and set up her own league. She might even be able to own the majority of the league. She could probably become a billionaire. Set it up with far fewer teams. You play far fewer games. Heck, they did it with Live Golf. I think the audience would follow Caitlin Clark wherever she goes.
So we're 25 days away from All-Star, just under 4 weeks. That's the clock is ticking. We came out here and play most of every night in front of these fans, and we will continue to do that. But the current system is unsustainable for us, and that means it's unsustainable for the business that we have created. Nothing short of transformational change will do for the future we see, and the fans clearly that we see. So we're paying attention. Everyone's paying attention. This is a business. This is about our players. And so if they're not meeting us, then we're not going to meet them.
This unprecedented situation has opened a dramatic, almost unthinkable possibility. Could Caitlin Clark, the player who saved the WNBA, ultimately abandon it? There is a rapidly growing sentiment among fans, and even some analysts, that Clark might be better off outside the WNBA's current structure. If I were advising Caitlin Clark, one commentator boldly stated, I would say start your own pro basketball league for women. She is the undisputed draw for women's basketball, possessing the unique power to leverage her immense popularity and set up her own league, perhaps even owning the majority of it. Imagine, a league with far fewer teams, playing far fewer games, built specifically around the elite talent and the competitive integrity that seems to be lacking in the current environment. They did it with LIV Golf, demonstrating that an audience will absolutely follow a transcendent star wherever they choose to go. Clark's fans have already proven their unwavering loyalty, following her to different cities, different venues, and different television networks. While the WNBA continues to allow its star player to be targeted and abused, other organizations with more foresight and a greater understanding of her value are undoubtedly positioning themselves to offer her the protection and respect she so clearly deserves. The league seems to have forgotten a fundamental truth. They need Clark far more than she needs them. Sophie Cunningham's legal action represents far more than just one player standing up for her teammate. It represents a fundamental challenge to the league's broken system of accountability. When players are willing to risk their entire careers, endure fines, and invite legal battles to protect each other from systematic abuse, it is an undeniable sign that the current system has failed catastrophically. The fan response to Cunningham's stand has been overwhelming, a collective roar demanding that the WNBA finally address its referee problem or face irreversible consequences. The clock is ticking, now just weeks away from the All-Star break, a crucial moment for the league to demonstrate transformative change. They can continue to find players who protect their teammates while ignoring the relentless, systematic targeting of their biggest star, or they can finally implement the profound changes that everyone knows are necessary. The choice is theirs, but the consequences of inaction are becoming clearer and more devastating with every passing moment.